Hey everybody, it's Brad Montgomery. Dang, that was a weird start. I've done this podcast a bunch, and I don't think there's been one time where I have had every single piece of technical gear go perfect. Welcome to my life. How are you? You're looking good. I've missed you.
Thank
Well,
you.
you know the podcast is called Successful, Interesting, and Awesome, and my job is to bring guests who are any one of those things. But today we have somebody who is all three of those things. We're going to talk about something that I'm super interested in, and you're going to be interested in too. It's about how acting applies to the corporate world and what the corporate world and business world, including presenters and I think just business people, what they can learn from an acting professional. So we've got a rock star with us today. Please say hello to your new best friend. Say hi to Billie Shepard. Hey, Billie.
Hello.
Thanks for joining us.
It's absolutely my pleasure. Good to see your face.
As I said that intro, Billie, it just gave me a million questions. What acting's related to the business world? I doubt it. What can you tell us more about what you mean when you have had this connection?
What I mean is everybody is acting either all day or at some part uh, of the day. We're all performing, and uh, and anytime anybody in my decades of experience gets up to present or goes into a high stakes professional meeting or audition, everybody is nervous or
Yeah.
scared, whatever word you want to put on it. And what actors do and performers do is accept that reality and learn techniques
Mm.
to manage those nerves and manage that fear so that the amygdala calms down and they can take that nervous energy and put it into the delivery and the gift that they're giving their listeners or their audience. So there are
Brilliant.
a ton of techniques to do that.
Well, I want to get into those techniques and I want to get into the whole concept that we are acting, but let's start at the beginning because you said something that felt like catnip to me, Billie.
Mhm.
I think you and I agree on something. You said it's easy to be scared, it's easy to be nervous. I have said a million times in front of my people, hi, everybody, we're all insecure. So I think what you just said was we use acting techniques to cover that insecurity to others. Did I summarize that correctly?
Almost. It's not to cover it; it's to accept it and redirect it, because that feeling of fear or nerves or lack of self confidence is energy. That's all energy that's going on inside of us.
Mm-hmm.
And instead of it going on inside of us and separating us from the audience, these techniques learn how to alleviate it and
Mm-hmm.
redirect that energy, if that resonates
Yeah,
with
I
you.
get that. So here's something you don't know about me. I've got three beautiful children who are awesome, in case they're listening. but but also all three of them are extreme introverts and they're also shy. And I kind of feel like maybe what you're about to lay on us, some of these techniques, not only help all of us, but they might even be especially helpful for people who feel they walk into a big room and they're like, "Oh my gosh, I'm really out of my comfort zone. I need to be an actor right now."
Oh, how sweet of you and wise of you to think of that. My experience, it's anecdotal, is that I was very shy and I got up on stage in high school and got an ovation and realized, "Oh, I get the picture. It I can be this in a character." That's one piece of it. The second piece of it that I learned was reading a wonderful book by Dale Carnegie called How to Win Friends and Influence People. It was and still is, and I still recommend it. And what he taught me was it's not about me, it's about the other people. It's about the other person. So I learned how to go to a party and ask questions. Just,
Yeah.
do you have kids? Uh, I like tennis. Do you have a sport you like? And
Hmm.
get them talking about themselves. And my shyness disappeared.
So I want to get into the techniques, but I want to guess one of the techniques. It's called
Oh,
Stump Billie Shepard.
no, no.
I'm picturing you as a young, shy person on a high school stage, feeling some sense of comfort. And I'm thinking part of that is that you had a script. You knew what to say and you could practice it and you knew you were good at it. Am I close to one of your techniques?
You are very close to it. And what I've noticed, people are reticent about, resistant, I should say, is rehearsal time, is practice time with their presentation. They think because they can speak that they've got it, but that's not it.
Right.
And what I learned as an actor and what actors learn is rehearsal doesn't just mean repeat. Rehearsal comes to mean discovery. So every time I rehearse, I discover something new, or I discover I can take that out. It's not necessary. Or I discover, wait, this needs to be emphasized. It's discovery. So rehearsal is a big piece of it. You are correct.
For those of you keeping track, it's Brad Montgomery 1. All right. Well, can you? This is such a cool topic. Let's go through it. Can you give us two or three techniques that work? I think we're on one: rehearsal and discovery.
Rehearsal, and that comes later. It I almost said in my book, but the fact of the matter, in my book, I discuss things in order because there is an order to getting present when you present, and that's the most critical thing. That's when we're really in our own style and our own power and really relating with the audience. The first technique that actors use is getting our body present in the moment. And that starts from the inside out, um, literally from the inside out. And we start with breathing. And we do a breathing exercise that lasts 3 minutes, 4 minutes, a tense release in the body. And then I ask people, do you notice any adjustment? And people go from mind racing and being nervous to I feel relaxed. My shoulders are better. I can have a thought. There's a space. I can have another thought. So getting the body ready is real important, real important. And then we do a vocal exercise, which I can discuss if you want. And then we build from there. But presenters are performing and they need to get their body ready
Yeah.
and they need to get their voice ready. Do you do any vocal exercising or anything before you go on, or you just hit the
I don't do
road?
vocal exercising, so clearly I need to be reading your book. Uh,
Yeah, yeah. I was
but
just
but I
curious.
I physically exercise sometimes. Sometimes
Yeah.
I just feel flat, and it's been embarrassing. So I'll find a place in the convention center I think is private, and there I am all dressed up, jogging in place or running upstairs or doing push-ups. And when I get caught, it is embarrassing, but it changes me.
Yes, so you're preparing your body. You're preparing your body first. You notice you're a professional, so you notice if you're low or if you're too waxed up high. You get your body in balance, and then we do vocal exercises too.
Well, so walk me through this. We have imagine there's a mid-level manager listening to this, and they're saying, "Yeah, I do need what Billy has," but they're skeptical. And you're saying before you go into that important meeting, you need to do a vocal exercise.
Mm,
I
mm.
picture that manager being skeptical, saying, "I doubt it." So, but I think you're on it. Can you talk to that skeptic?
Oh, you're so dear. Well, I would say that he can join the club because there's nary a client that I deal with privately or in group that isn't leery of doing this vocal exercise and that doesn't come out of it saying, whoa, that really helped. May I show it to you? May I show it to
Yeah,
you?
now I'm dying of curiosity because I'm just, here's honesty. I'm like, I don't get this, so I'm open to it. Let's do it.
Okay, so what I have them do is with a pencil or a chopstick, A pencil
Oh,
or a
it's
chopstick.
I got a
What
green
is that?
screen.
An enormous.
Uh, a million pens. Will a pen work, Billy?
Yeah, because that's a good one. It's a round, equal, all the way around pen. It's
All right,
fine.
so I'm just
And
holding
what you're
what
going to
looks
do,
like a big pen.
yes. And I'm going to show you first. So wait, let
Good,
me show you because it's
good.
going to look unusual. And it should feel unusual because you're learning something new. So I'm going to put it in my back molars like this and hold it firmly with my back molars. And then they're going to read a little poem, a short little poem that I put up for them. And they're going to over enunciate holding the pen. Watch how silly this looks.
Good.
Over enunciate. Okay.
Oh,
And
those of you listening, I wish you could see Billy. So she's biting on this pencil deep in her mouth as she, you can see her lips just totally tear this up. And I totally understand you, but I shouldn't be able to.
okay. Over enunciate.
All right, I am now going to over enunciate. Mm.
Yes, and of course he did it adorably and perfectly. And what you would do out there listening is you would read 3 or 4 lines over enunciating with the pencil being held firmly in your back molars. Then you're going to take the pencil out and read the poem's lines again over enunciating. Now, why do we do this?
Oh,
Why
let me
does
guess.
this
Let me guess. Let me guess. Let me guess.
why me
I think you're warming up your face muscles.
absolutely. The same way a football player warms up his muscles or a tennis player goes out and hits before he warms up and people do yoga before it's actors are emotional athletes and to be an emotional athlete as an actor or a speaker and presenter, we've got to work the instrument. That's why they call
Yeah.
it the instrument. It's the whole thing. We've got to.
All right. So for
Especially, let me interrupt.
yeah.
Especially in this global world, because I coach people all over the world, Poland, Europe, everywhere in the world. And people speak not just 2 languages, multiple languages. And we need to understand every syllable.
Mm.
So it's critical for clear understanding and connection to audiences to have our mouth be able to work.
Well, okay, I'm sold on this. I'm doing that next time I'm about to walk on stage. If you're in your car and you can't see this and you're embarrassed, it's perfect. You're in your car. And by the way, I know half of you are in your car right now. So put a pencil in your mouth, deep in there, so it goes
Yes.
across your mouth. Like how do we describe this?
Molars,
Like a bit in a
molars,
horse.
like a bit in a horse. Oh, I'm going to use that. I'll cite you.
Nice. And
Um,
then start yapping to yourself in your car.
and what?
And start yapping to yourself in the car.
And
Over
start, yeah,
enunciating.
say the alphabet. Over enunciating. Stretch, lift those weights. Stretch your muscles, and it will pay off.
Well, because Billy, whenever we listen to someone smart like you talk, we translate it to our own life. I think of all the people who are brilliant, who don't get full credit for their brilliance because they talk softly or they mumble or they're just hard to understand.
Mhm.
And so, what I'm kind of picking up is that here's an acting technique that will make us appear stronger by just speaking louder and more clearly.
Yes, yes, that's very helpful. That's very, very helpful for people to
Boom.
hear.
All right. If you just joined us, this is Billie Shepard. She's an acting coach who translates her acting wisdom to the business world. She's given us techniques. What's another technique?
Well, probably the secret of 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 an effective presentation to begin with is what's your intention?
Oh,
I
well,
know, huh?
tell me more.
Well, an actor, I can't go on stage or in front of a camera without knowing my intention. Because if I'm not clear on my intention for the scene,
Yeah.
where do I go? The default is shyness and embarrassment and everybody's looking at me and they notice I gained 5 pounds, and it all becomes about me because I don't have an intention. But an intention, simply put, is my job. That's my task in this scene. My job is to pick up a pen. There were no nerves. I wasn't thinking, am I going too fast? Am I going? Intention is the secret of life. Intention. I don't know how old are your kids. Are they teenagers yet?
No, they're in their 20s.
They're in their 20s, so you went through the teenage years, and the 20s they're still kind of hanging on sometimes, some
Yeah.
days, depending on the day. Uh, it's real important with teenagers to have intention because they talk real fast and they're real smart and they can convince you that they can go to the party. But if you're on intention that they're not going to the party, it's not going to happen. So, not to belabor the point, knowing one's intention before you go in and talk to your boss, knowing one's intention before you deliver a message to your team, knowing your intention before you go on stage to deliver a presentation. I would suspect, because you're successful as a presenter, that you know your intention, and that is to help others. What you're pretty clear on your intention
Well, but
before
help me
you go.
help me translate this to the corporate world. What would be an example of an intention I might have as I walk into a meeting if I'm in the business world or doing a small presentation for a sales team or something?
Well, it depends. There are let me to motivate, if it's your team, to inform of good news or bad news, to uh, adjust their point of view for where we need to be with the urgency of something.
Hmm.
Uh, there's a thesaurus of intentions. Here's what I want to emphasize: two things. One, it's not easy to get the intention. It has to be specific, because if it's real general, that's hard to play. The second is, and this is a huge key, it has to be connected to a strong feeling in you. You have to care about it. Because if you don't care about it, why should we care about it? And what happens in the corporate world, as you know, is Bob comes up to me and says, Billy, can you deliver this presentation? I can't. Tell him what's going on. I read the presentation and I could care less about this data.
Right.
And what I advise, beyond suggesting, what I advise is, if you don't care about it, either give it to somebody else, or find at least one thing in it that you do care about, one bit of data. Because if the audience sees you get a spark and they feel you feeling strongly about something, that'll save the presentation, because they'll walk out remembering that spark.
Yeah.
So an intention needs to be specific, and an intention needs to be tied to a strong feeling in yourself.
Got it.
You know, oh, go ahead with your
I do
question.
know. So I make my living on stage, and since I've been doing it so long, I've seen a lot of people in my industry. And I'm telling you, it is so easy to care or to notice when people don't give a darn. It is
Oh,
so easy when they're like, this is where I think training is so difficult. Because so I'm a keynote speaker. I'm allowed
yes,
to
yes,
speak
yes.
about whatever I want to talk about. If I can talk people into hire me, I get to talk about that. But a trainer is tasked to come to deliver certain information that they may not care about. And for me, that's what training is so difficult, is they're stuck teaching stuff they don't care about.
Yeah, I'm going to go out on a limb, and I was spoiled. I was raised with three other kids. We were spoiled, rotten, just absolutely rotten, and we all turned out great. I don't know how they did it, but they had four wild animals and gave us everything, and it was just crazy. I lost my train of thought because I got to my sister climbing up
Well,
this
I was
really
talking
hard.
about trainers being required to
Oh,
deliver
I
information they may not care about.
I'm in a position at my late stage of life that I wouldn't train something that I didn't believe in, and I wouldn't teach something that I didn't believe in, and that might be why I've got my own business and won't use somebody else's method. Um, I think it's um, immediately recognizable, like you said, if somebody doesn't care about what they're teaching or training. Now, how do I do it in my training? I start people so slowly, and then little by little by little, and then they see the result in
Mhm.
others, and then they feel it in themselves, and then I've got them addicted. Then they trust me. Once they trust me,
Yeah.
they know that the next technique will work, and by the end, they're speaker monsters because it's like a frog in a hot pot. You turn up the heat, you know, the little by little, it works because they see it and feel it.
Well, I trust you. All right, we're doing this, people. We've got a rock star on the horn here. We're talking about acting techniques as they apply to the rest of us, including those of us in the corporate and business world. We just covered a couple techniques. Intention. What would follow intention? What's another one?
What would follow intention? I
I
would
put.
say,
I'm putting you on the spot, aren't I?
no, oh, no, I have to think, and for your listeners, that silence you hear is me thinking, um, and I would say learning how to write the presentation before the slides. So we've gotten our body ready, we've gotten our voice ready, we know our intention for this presentation, we know the audience, that's a given. You got to know your audience, who you're talking to, as specifically as possible. And the next thing would be then starting to craft your presentation or your message. And with that, there are, I would say, two things that are really important for your listeners. One is learning how to take out the unnecessary so the
Mm,
necessary may speak. So editing becomes
yeah.
huge. And the second would be learning segues to the story to go from one point to another point so that you can segue your slides and tell a story. Um,
Yeah.
and then which,
Those connections are brutal. So
yeah,
that's comedy one on one. You have two jokes on in a club. You got to get from one joke to another, and the only way to do it is find some segue connection, and
yeah,
that's the hard
yeah,
part.
yeah. It's work, isn't it? It really, yeah, yeah, yeah. And comedy, as you do it, I'm going to tell you something personal. When I do a lot of, I did a lot of comedy plays. I'm very funny when I'm in a character doing something. And because of that, several people said, "You need to do some stand up. You need to do some stand up." And so they went to we all went to a club one night, and I thought, this is hard work. Stand up is really hard work.
Yeah.
And so I didn't even venture out because it's so concise. With the play, you've got so many other things going on that can support you and explain the story and have visual and everything. But comedy is concise. It's almost the poetry of performing. It really is something. Kudos to you. God.
Well, one, you're brave to do it for sure, right? To go up on the stage. But I was just hearing in a podcast, not mine, Levi, right? Eugene Levi, the comic actor, and he
Oh
was
my God.
talking about the same thing you're talking about. That he hates being introduced as a comedian. He thinks of himself as a really funny actor,
Yeah.
and is not at all comfortable standing up telling jokes or whatever. It's
Yeah.
just, dude, and Eugene, he's brilliant.
He's
So
brilliant.
it's no, there's no value judgment, but it's different.
Yeah. It is different. It's
All
different.
right, so let me go back to this. So one of the things I think you said as that third technique, if you're keeping track, or number three, I think you said you got to write the presentation out before you created the slides.
Yes.
That was part of what you
Yes.
said.
Yes. And most people don't. They create the slides first and or simultaneously with writing the presentation. And what they need to understand that would help them so much is to be certain of their intention and be certain of what they want to get across, and then use the slides to support and augment what they're trying to communicate.
Well, hallelujah. I hope everyone's listening to this.
Yeah, yeah.
All right, so I'm going to just go ahead and be bold, and Billy, add my own advice to this.
Yes, yes.
There is a really strong chance that you should not be using slides. There's just a really great. There is a not. They are not required, and unless your
They,
slides are freaking great, leave them out, and then
yes,
watch how that enables you to focus on your message and the audience, and not have to look behind you to know where you are, and say, "Oh, I forgot to this one."
amen is what I say. Yes, yes. And I work in some, actually some of the most prominent, enormous companies here in the Bay Area, and boy, we work very hard on getting them to edit their slides, bullet point, or eliminate the slide altogether. I'll say, "Well, do
Yeah,
you really need it?" And they'll go,
yeah.
"No, no, yeah, yeah,
One, I wish I had your job. So I go to conferences all the time, and it's a very common thing for them to start the conference, bring out the CEO or president. The CEO or president gives either a welcome or a state of the company or organization, and then they say, "Here's Brad." So I hear a lot of those top
mhm,
leaders talk, and I just wish they would hire me to
yeah."
work on their presentation with them, which doesn't happen, and I think it's because ego is involved. But
With them,
what
yeah,
kills me is so many things. One, they don't know the presentation. Their staff wrote it because they thought they were too busy. And here is their chance to connect with their most important people, and they're doing a presentation that someone else put up there, showing slides they did not build.
yeah, yeah,
And I'm like,
yeah.
leave them out and talk to your people. This is not as hard as you think.
Leave them out and talk to your people. I'm gonna say that again to anybody that's listening. Leave it out and talk to your people. If it's a really important slide, use it.
It just kills me, Billy. Like, especially when they're new leaders. So turnover's a thing. So often they're new leaders. They're experienced leaders, but they're new in that organization. So the audience is checking them out. And that
Oh,
makes them really nervous because they know the audience is checking them out. And then they completely make the most square, over overwritten, just boring presentation in the whole world, and they come off super flat.
yeah, you're seeing that a lot. Oh, man, yeah, it's painful, and it doesn't have to be.
Well, they need you. They need to realize part of their job is this is a performance.
Mm, mm, yeah, it sure makes a difference. It sure makes a difference, and it doesn't take that much time. It takes, if they had a tennis match, they'd hire a coach, you know,
Yeah.
it,
Well, and it kind of gets back to one of your techniques. What is your intention? I think the people I'm talking about, part of their intention is to impart some information, but largely their intention is to make their followers feel like, okay, we got a captain of the ship, and we're going in the right place. I'm involved. But they come out and deliver some lame update with some stats and some charts, and it doesn't work. Nothing works. They just, the audience leaves saying, whatever, I guess it's done. That's the good
yeah.
thing.
And it's a pity. And it gets again back to intention. You touched on it a bit. They're there to deliver information. That's not the intention. Anybody that's up presenting is there to deliver information. That's the given. What's the intention? Is the intention to make your audience feel safe and secure in my new leadership? Is your intention to amuse them? Is your intention to find out things from them? Is your intention to
Yeah.
make them feel safe? It's not to deliver information. You can send me an email, or you
Yeah, right.
know
They could just send the PowerPoint deck that their assistant
yes,
built to their team.
yes. Yes,
All right,
yes.
Billy, you are killing us. I'm so glad for this session. So, again, we're talking to an actor who's applying acting skills for the rest of us, including those of us in the corporate and business world. We're going through a whole bunch of techniques. Does another one come to mind?
Uh, I think that maybe I can talk about the overarching umbrella of my methodology
Great,
and the import of the techniques falling underneath that.
great.
The thing that I discovered when I was teaching acting and acting was when I could get a student, an acting student, present in the moment, they'd be brilliant.
Mm,
Beginner or advanced or experienced. If I could get them in the present moment, they'd be brilliant because they'd be themselves. And isn't that what we want to see?
yeah.
There's their view. Okay. So all of the acting teachers I studied with and my techniques, I compiled them. And then I went back to school and got my graduate degree. And it was about getting present using acting techniques in the corporate world. Well, my thesis advisor, uh, I had such an ego. My thesis advisor said, "Billy, you understand when you see an actor or a speaker in the present moment, but how do we know
Mm-hmm.
when we're seeing one in the present moment?" You know, and
Yeah.
I said, "Well, we feel it. We feel it when they believe what they're saying." Yeah, yeah. She said, "Well, that's not what a thesis is about. A
Right.
thesis is okay." She said, "What are the components that make up being in the present moment?" And we had to work on it. And by goodness, we figured it out. There are actually four things that go into getting into the present moment and recognizing when somebody's in or not in the present moment. The first is their body. They got to get their body ready. And all of the techniques apply down from there. The second is their voice. They've got to get their voice ready. They've got to
Mm-hmm.
be understood clearly, whether they've got an accent or dialect or not. They've got to be crisp and clear, clarity, modulation. The third one is the ability to improvise. A good speaker has to have the ability to improvise because energy changes and audience changes and technical things happen. And the fourth, of course, is the secret of life, intention. So all of the exercises and techniques that we learn in the workshops or working with me privately are connected to each individual thing. Now here's the trick that we discovered when we were doing this test.
Bring it.
This if you focus on one of them, if you feel yourself losing it or losing the audience,
Mm-hmm.
or you suddenly feel like the audience is looking at you instead of you giving to the audience, go to one of those four techniques and you will get back in the present moment.
Mm,
So take a breath, get your body present, or you know uh, uh, do something vocally, even if you chuckle a bit or do something to get aware of your body. Improvise. Some people are funny. If you're funny, tell a joke. If you're not funny, say, let's look over here at this information that I change it, take control. And fourth, remember your intention, and it will all get you back in the present moment. The key is doing all your preparation before, but when you're on stage, have those abilities, have those
yeah.
that import of being in the present moment.
Well, hallelujah. I'm the choir. You're preaching, girl.
Yeah.
But one of the things that goes through my mind as I hear you say those things, which by the way I totally agree with.
Mm.
When you say them, I'm like, oh, she's articulating things I believe. I just didn't articulate it that way. One of the things that's missing is practice. Meaning, I think if you're a seasoned actor or a seasoned presenter or a seasoned corporate person, what makes you better is partly just doing it a lot. And then those techniques that you mentioned just are in you. You don't think of them.
Mm, 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 mm.
Right? If
That's
you're doing a play 10,000 times, the 10,000th time you're not thinking about your intention, you're just good at it.
mm, that's true. Most of the people I work with have not learned these things, and this is new to them. And what I tell them is the same thing you just said: practice these things and you'll get
Yeah.
better. Commit to practicing one
Yeah.
technique. What you've got to
I
practice
like
it.
that.
Yeah.
Well, also it sort of tips to, like calm down basically. So if I was talking to someone who's nervous about a presentation and they're like, I don't have time for 10,000 rehearsals or 10,000 shows, um, what would you tell me? I would just say, like, just know it's normal. Like, you're not supposed to be great at it because you haven't done it a bunch.
hmm hmm It's absolutely true. And that's a loving thing to impart to somebody because they're feeling less than. And what you're saying is join the club.
Yeah.
We're all nervous as hell. We're all,
If you do one presentation per year to your bosses, you're going to be nervous every year. Just
Mhm.
embrace it. It just you're not. It's not enough. That's not enough practice.
Yeah, yeah. That acceptance is critical. It really is.
What's the name of your book, Billy?
The Billie Shepard presentation method. I had all kinds of clever uh, titles and everything to try, and then everybody said, "It's your method. You created this." So
All
I
right. Well,
wish.
I'm going there, but I'm going to spell your name because I typed your name in wrong twice this morning. Billy Shepard. It's Billie. Don't miss that. But also Shepard could be spelled, I imagine, 10,000 ways. Billy's is Shepard. Just one P. If you're me, it's just one P. Well, BillyShepard.com, right?
BillieShepard.com, and the book is on Amazon.
Perfect. Hold on just a second. All right, good. I just had a weird technical thing. Can you hear me okay, Billy?
You're perfect.
Right there. That was when I fell in love with you. That right that I those of you who follow me and my show know that I'm super interested in social and emotional support, and that means acknowledgement and encouragement. So
Mm.
we're at that magic time, Billy, where I get to ask every guest about who encouraged you. Do you have somebody who made you feel like you were valuable or you could do the hard thing or you were worthwhile?
I'm going to tell you there are two.
Yay.
The first is my dad,
Oh,
and there was who's not here, and I wish he could be here, of course. Um, who said to me in a downtime one time, I was just sobbing with worry over something, and he said, "You're an entrepreneur. You'll think of something." And I absolutely felt that in my heart. I really, because he wasn't easy, with the compliments.
yeah.
And that was hugely encouraging because I believed him, and of course I did.
Yeah, I love that also because you notice what he didn't say is he didn't try to fix the problem, whatever you're dealing with, and he just praised your ability to solve problems.
That's a good way. That's exactly what it was. That's exactly what it was.
What
And
a great
then
dad.
yeah, what a great dad. And then the second person, I was a grown adult. I took a workshop with an actor named Alan Arkin. I don't
Oh
know
yeah,
if you're okay. And we ended up working together, and I produced some things with him, and we ended up becoming friendly. I He calls me a friend. He's an amazing person. But what he did is have such confidence in my work, in my acting ability, and my improvisational ability and teaching ability. And he said, "Your work is impeccable." And when he said that, who I had worshiped since the sixth grade, I saw him in a movie called Wait Until Dark. And I thought, I don't know who that guy is, but I like that. And
yeah.
when he told me that, I believed him. And he wrote the foreword to my book. He's encouraged me so much.
Aw.
Yeah. So anybody that's encouraging you that you trust and respect, listen to them because they're telling you the truth.
How long ago was that he said your work is impeccable?
I think it was probably 2014, 13,
Ni-
14, something like that.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
years ago, and you still remember the exact phrase.
Oh, I never forgot it.
Yeah.
I never forgot because I knew because his work is like him, which is honest
Mm.
and a truth teller, and there's never a false note from him. So when he said it, I thought, wow. Because as an actor, we audition. I hardly act anymore at all. I do some print work, but nowadays I'm busy with this job I love. I love what I do. Um, when somebody like that tells you, you believe them. We audition, 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 and there's so
Yeah.
much rejection. So to get that was valuable.
Well, plus that kind of we're coming back to the beginning. We began by saying most people are nervous and insecure. And here you had a
Oh,
person you saw as senior to you say your work is impeccable. Of course that meant something to you. Of course that was valuable. How lovely.
mm,
What a nice guy.
yeah, he's a good guy. He's a good guy. Well, I don't think he said it to be just a good guy. I think he really meant it, and that's why I
Yeah.
believe him. The first day I met him, I couldn't speak. He would come up to me, and I couldn't respond. It was like he was this far away from me,
Yeah.
2 inches away, and I couldn't. You hear
Sure.
those stories all the time.
Well, you're with
Turned
a
out,
hero.
yeah, and his wife is equal. She's amazing. Suzanne is an amazing person too.
Well,
So,
it's such a good reminder because all of us, and I'm talking to everybody listening to this, all of us are Alan Arkin to somebody, aren't we?
mhm,
And
mhm.
maybe so that's here. Let's everyone raise your right hand and say, I promise. We should all find somebody to whom we are senior, whatever that means, and pull an Alan Arkin on them, which means be honest, I think, right? Because you said that was important. Don't lie,
Yes.
but genuine encouragement.
Oh,
What a
that's a
sweet
good guy.
story.
Yeah. Thanks. Thanks for asking.
Well, Billie Shepard, BILLIESHEPARD. I want people to find you. Um,
Mm.
we are at my favorite question, and unfortunately, it's our last question, but here we are. What gives you hope? We have seasoned actor who now applies acting skills to the rest of us in the business world. What, Billie Shepard, gives you hope?
I think that if that the default to not having hope is so destructive. It just would paralyze me
Mm,
if I didn't have hope. Um, Hope energizes me. I think that anything from a bird, a mourning dove, built her nest above my car. I just got a new car several months ago, and I love it. It's an electric car. I love this car. And she built a nest above my car, and she was going to the
yeah.
bathroom, my new white car. And the maintenance people here built a box underneath her. They took a box and strung it up on the poles going across the garage so that we didn't have to lose the nest and she could do her duties.
Hmm.
And he's living there. We hope it took a community. It took me wanting to save my car but not wanting to ruin her nest, and
Right.
it took the community of the maintenance people to say, hey, we can build a box underneath her and protect her, and
Yeah.
she's gonna have her, she's gonna be fine. So I think the goodness in people, the
Mm.
goodness in people, the right side of people, they're better angels, gives me hope.
Oh, that is so sweet.
It is
What
really sweet.
what I like about that is, you found a way to connect with that person who built the box, and There was some problem solving that was out of the box. Sorry about the pun. Uh, and what that transcends is red state, blue state,
Mm.
how you feel about masking and all of the things we might be fighting about. It's just, yeah, let's save this dove.
Let's save this dove. Yeah, that's what it is. Yeah.
That's adorable. I feel better. Plus, I don't mind telling you, I like the first part of that answer as much, which was the thought of living in a world with no hope is not a world you want to live in.
Mm-mm. Mm-mm. The default's ugly.
So
The
in some ways, you're
default's ugly.
just like, forget what triggers hope. It's like I just choose to have hope because
Yeah.
that's why I want to live.
Yeah. I like that story better. It makes me feel better today to have hope. It really
Yeah.
does.
Yeah, it's funny because I've asked that question to so many people, Billy, but I've never heard that. Just the almost the answer could be rephrased from a cynical viewpoint is I don't care what gives me hope. I just choose to have it because who wants to live in a hopeless world?
Yeah.
And then you
Yeah.
start looking for the morning doves.
Yeah. Yeah. I just have hope. Yeah.
That's like
It's,
I've studied the science of happiness a bunch, and it's not a sufficient technique to make us all happy, but a crucial technique is deciding you want to be happy.
well, Abraham Lincoln, most folks are as happy as they make up their minds to be.
Yeah,
And that man fought depression.
right. Right, and
Everything.
we know, I mean, I know it's more complicated if anybody's having a crappy day. I get it. You just saying you're happy or hopeful doesn't always work, but man, it's like I said, not sufficient, but it's crucial.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a good message to put out there.
Billie Shepard, you are a delight.
Thanks you. Back at you.
I always feel like the best part of this podcast for me is I get to meet new friends and I just, just have a conversation with someone interesting. And I can't believe this is a job. So I'm so grateful that you joined us.
Thank you so much for having me. It was a delight to meet you too.
All right, everybody, type in Billie Shepard into Amazon.com, type in Billie Shepard into your browser, and you're going to find a woman you need to learn from. I'm so glad to know you, Billie. Everybody, be good to each other. Know your intention. Thanks.